It's 11 a.m., and I hereby call this meeting to order and ask everyone to take their seats, which I see you've already done. Thank you. My name is Bob Peterson. I'm the Vice Chair of the Transportation Commission. Chairman McCown was not able to be with us this morning. And for your information, all commissioners met previously this morning with their subcommittees. So all the details in the agenda have been gone through by all of us. And so we do have some special guests. We have Bobby Stem with AGC and former Secretary of Transportation Mike Patterson. So thank you for joining us today. The Commission Secretary will now call the roll.
Mr. Coburn.
Coburn here.
Mr. Grimsley.
Grimsley here.
Mr. Shannon. Mr. Freimiller.
Freimiller here.
Mr. McCowan. Mr. Dyson.
Dyson here.
Mr. Alexander.
Alexander here.
Mr. LaForge.
LaForge here.
Mr. Peterson.
Here. Item 134 is approval of the minutes of the Transportation Commission meeting on September 6, 2022. Do I have a motion for approval of item 134?
Motion Dyson.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second, Alexander.
Second, Alexander. Any discussion? All right. Secretary will call the roll, please.
Bob Coburn.
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley.
Grimsley abstain.
Mr. Freimiller.
Freimiller abstain.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Dyson.
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge.
Abstain.
Okay.
So we have 4 approvals and 2 abstentions. Okay?
3 abstains.
3. The consent docket contains items 135 and 136. If any commissioner would like to pull an individual item out for discussion, he may do so at this time.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Could we go back and double check that vote, roll call on the vote, just make sure we had it accurately?
Please.
Okay.
Do what? I'm
Sherry, would you
sorry.
repeat what the results of the vote on the minutes?
I have 3 abstains. 1, 2, 3. That's 4.
Does that meet quorum?
We'll have to continue that till next month.
Okay. Thank
All right, good pick, James.
you. Thank you. You bet.
So back to the consent docket. Do I hear a motion for approval of the consent docket?
So moved, LaForge.
Okay, and do I have a second?
Grimsley second.
Any discussion? Secretary will call the roll.
Mr. Coburn.
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley.
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Freimiller.
Freimiller, yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Dyson.
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge.
LaForge, yes.
All right, so that's all approved, 7 approvals. Item 137 is engineering contracts. Mr. Tigler, you're recognized to present.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Mr. Secretary. Item 137, I have 10 parts this month. Part A is a statewide, all districts are on-demand general and environmental engineering. We have selected 6 firms for this contract, and they are Altamira US, Intercon Services, Environmental Works, Friesen Nichols, Stantec, and Terracon Consultants. The aggregate amount not to exceed for the 6 contracts was $1.2 million or $200,000 each. Part B is statewide, all districts are on-demand NESHAP investigations analysis. We've selected 3 firms for this service. They are Intercon Services, Environmental Hazard Control Lab, and Terracon Consultants. Aggregate not to exceed amount for these 3 contracts is $450,000 or $150,000 each. Part C, statewide, all districts are on-demand bridge rehabilitation 8-year construction work plan. Department has selected 6 firms to provide bridge rehabilitation services, and they are with Burgess & Nyepel, EST, Garver, H.W. Lochner, Jacobs Engineering Group, and Neo Design. Aggregate not to exceed amount for these 6 contracts is $1.5 million or $250,000 each. Part D, statewide, all districts are on-demand shop drawing review. Department has selected 2 firms to provide this service. They are Consor Engineers and SNB Infrastructure. The aggregate not to amount for these two contracts is $500,000 or $250,000 each. Part E is a statewide all districts on-demand aerial photography. Department has selected aerial data service to provide these services. Total not to exceed amount for this contract is $100,000. Part F, Okmulgee County, District 1, the department has selected BKL to provide engineering and construction plans for US 75A. Total not to exceed amount is $216,200. These projects are in the 8-year construction work plan, scheduled let date in 2027. Part G in Sequoia County in District 1, department has selected Consor engineers to prepare construction plans for US 64. Total not to exceed amount is $1,092,600. These two projects are in the 8-year construction work plan in 2028 and 2029. Part H in Garvin County in District 3, department has selected Benham Design for construction plans on I-35. Total not to exceed amount is $1,026,000. This project is in the 8-year construction work plan and let date of 2025. Part I in Pawnee County in District 8, the department selected CEC Corporation to prepare construction plans for State Highway 18. Total not to exceed amount is $786,600. This project is also in the 8-year construction work plan, scheduled let date in 2026. And finally, Part J, Tulsa County in District 8, department has selected Hudson Prince Engineering and Inspection, construction plans for ramp rehabilitation in various Tulsa County locations. Total not to exceed amount is $1,043,500. This project, or these projects are listed in the 8-year construction work plan, let date of 2026. Approval is recommended, and try to answer any question if you gentlemen have any this morning.
You've heard the presentation. Do I have a motion for approval of item 137?
So moved, Grimsley.
Grimsley, do I have a second?
Second, Alexander.
Any discussion? All right, Secretary will call the roll, please.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Frymiller, yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge.
LaForge, yes.
That's 7 approvals and no abstentions or noes. Item 138 is engineering contract supplements. Mr. Taylor, you recognize to continue.
Thank you. I have two contract supplements this month. Part A is a statewide all districts. This is our on-demand airborne LiDAR mapping. This is with Bearing Tree Land Surveying for a total increase of this contract of $750,000. And Part B in Custer County in District 5, previously authorized Atkins North America to prepare construction plans for State Highway 33. The supplement not to exceed amount is $9,962, and this project is in the 8-year work plan in 2024. Approval is recommended, and try to answer any questions on these two items if you have any this morning.
And you've heard the presentation. Do I have a motion for approval of item 138?
So moved, Grimsley.
Grimsley, do I have a second?
Second, Frymiller.
And any discussion? Secretary, will please call the roll.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Frymiller, yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge.
LaForge, yes.
Thank you.
All right, that's 7 approvals. Item 139 is change orders with a cumulative total of $75,000 or less. Mr. Leonard, you are recognized to present.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'd like to present item number 139, parts A through double C. These are the change orders on projects which have a cumulative total of change orders of $75,000 or less. This item is presented for information only, and no action is necessary, but I'd be glad to answer any questions.
If there are no questions, Mr. Leonard, you're recognized to present item 140, change orders with a cumulative total greater than $75,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 140, parts A through Z. These are change orders which have a cumulative total, or on projects which have a cumulative total of change orders greater than $75,000. Your approval is recommended, and I'd be glad to answer any questions about these.
You've heard the presentation. Do I have a motion for approval of item 140?
Coburn, so moved.
Coburn, and do I have a second?
Second, Dyson.
Dyson. Any discussion? Okay. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Frymiller, yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge.
LaForge, yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Item 128 is proposed bid openings. Mr. Hackney, you are recognized to present.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Item 141, proposed bid openings, consists of the final November 2022, the tentative December 2022, and the tentative January 2023 bid openings. The department recommends approval.
You've heard the You've heard the presentation. Do I have a motion? Mr. Coburn, do I have a second?
Second, Alexander.
Alexander, all right. Any discussion? All right. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Frymiller, yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge.
LaForge, yes.
Item passes 7-0. Item 142 is settlement of damages to state property. Mr. Hackney, you're recognized to continue.
Thank you. Item 142, settlement for damage to state properties, consists of a total write-off of $3,008.31. The department recommends and requests acceptance of this settlement offer.
You've heard the presentation. Do I have a motion for approval of item 142?
Motion, Dyson.
And do I have a second?
Second, Frymiller.
Any discussion? I understand there's something in the works that we might not have to address de minimis amounts like this. That is correct. Yeah, great, Andy. All right, Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Frymiller, yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge.
LaForge, yes.
Thank you. Measure passes 7-0. Item 143 is the Asset Preservation Plan. Mr. Wen, you are recognized to present.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, the department has completed the proposed asset preservation plan with consideration for the critical needs of Oklahoma's transportation infrastructure and the financial constraint mandated by the projected federal and state funding availability. The work plan is balanced by district within the budgetary limitations of state fiscal years 2023 through 2026. The encompassed projects have been defined, validated, and included in accordance with the transportation needs and priorities of the state. This item is for information only and no commission action is required. Happy to answer any questions, though.
If there are no questions, Mr. Wen, you are recognized to present item 144, assignment of certain contracts for highway construction.
Sir, item 144, the 8-year construction work plan. The department has completed the proposed 8-year construction work plan with consideration for the critical needs of Oklahoma's transportation infrastructure and the financial constraint mandated by the projected federal and state funding availability. The work plan is balanced by district within the budgetary limitations of federal fiscal years 2023 through 2030. The encompassed projects have been defined, validated, and included in accordance with the transportation needs and priorities of the state. The department will ensure the long-term budgetary integrity of the plan and the continuity of the projects through the active management of the project development and delivery process. Commission approval of the 2023 through 2030 construction work plan is recommended. Happy for any questions.
You've heard the presentation for the 8-year construction work plan. Do I have a motion for approval?
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Could I make a comment, please,
Yes.
before we do that? Okay. First, I do plan the vote yes. I think these are all important projects, and I'm a strong supporter of the 8-year plan. I would be remiss if I don't raise some concerns. I represent a rural district that is decades behind, like a lot of parts of Oklahoma. As we've heard, the $20 billion backlog, so we're suffering from that in District 2. One of the concerns I've had is that back in the spring, we were presented with statistics that said that there's a 65%, there's this big discrepancy in highway fatalities. 65% of our highway fatalities happen in rural districts, even though only 35% or so live there. So that translates into you have almost twice the chance of dying just being on the roadways. And so we have a severe problem in the rural areas. We did have, as we've seen that's being resolved right now, we had a history of the deficient bridges. We had a serious bridge accident, as we all know, that kind of triggered that. Look, but a lot of that risk was speculative. We were saying if we don't act, deaths will happen, deaths will occur, right? Accidents will happen. Our rural highway problem is happening now. It's not speculative. We lose several hundred people per year, and unfortunately, at least a family or two a day get that tragic call of an unexpected, unplanned death. or possibly several deaths. So it's something that's very real in my district. I drive these highways every day. I see these accidents occur. I've avoided and narrowly missed several of them. My concern is, given the way we operate right now, we're not going to ever catch up on that. And I have tried my best to sort of understand and appreciate our funding allocation process. And as a reminder for everyone, our district funding allocation process is we look at population, number of center lane miles, and then we look at the history of funding. None of those three factors factor in fatalities. None of those things factor in road condition. None of those things factor in economic growth or expansion. It's basically, it's set up to be more of a political entitlement formula than it is a true need-based formula. My background is engineering, so if you bring me a problem and you quantify it, my teeth are going to be into it, and I'm not going to let it go until we can figure out a solution. Given the way we're going right now, we're at a high water mark on funding. We're not always going to be there. This is a once in a generation, or possibly once in every 2 or 3 generation situation. Our legislature has been very generous in helping us. At the federal level, we have a lot of funding. What we do not have is a strategy to ensure that funding that is being set aside for rural highways, things like that, it's actually going toward the intended purpose. So I've not seen a strategic plan. I think we need to adopt a strategic plan similar to what we did with our deficient bridges, and it needs to be a long-term plan and vision to get there. Otherwise, we're never going to catch up. So I do plan to vote yes, these are important projects, but I do have concerns about how we allocate the funds. And I'd like in the next year, let's have some more serious discussions about this and try to figure out if we can either modernize that. Is there a better approach? Is there a way that we can develop a plan like we did with deficient bridges? Deficient bridges occurred because of tandem cooperation between Brad Henry, Governor Fallon, and over that 16 years, a lot was accomplished. The legislature worked with them. So we have an example in Oklahoma where we were able to work something long-term, even with the ups and downs. We had some pretty serious ups and downs during that time. So I just wanted to voice that concern. My hope is that sitting here a year from now, when we vote like this again, we have a strategy and we have a way that we can have a long-term solution to that problem. So thank you. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you for your remarks, Commissioner Grimsley. Thank you. You've heard the presentation for the 8-year construction work plan. Do I have a motion for approval?
Coburn, so moved.
Coburn, thank you. Do I have a second?
Freimiller, second.
All right, and any further discussion? All right. Thank you. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Coburn?
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley?
Grimsley, yes?
Mr. Freimiller?
Freimiller, yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Dyson?
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander?
yes.
Mr. LaForge?
LaForge, yes.
Thank you. Measure passes 7-0. Item 145 is awards. Mr. Dels, you're recognized to present.
Commissioners, Mr. Vice Chair. Item 145 this morning was presented in 2 parts. Part A is our recommendation for the September 8th emergency bid opening. On August 8th, 2022, the ODOT director declared an emergency on 2 bridges on US 62, US 75 over the BNSF Railroad in Okmulgee County. An emergency bid opening was held on September 8th with the intent of entering into a contract with a local contractor to repair the bridges. The estimated contract amount was $726,724. The low bid from K&R Builders was $1,247,853.70, an amount which exceeds the director's authority. The department therefore comes to the Transportation Commission at this time requesting approval of award of the emergency contract. Part B are our recommendations from the September 15th bid opening. It is recommended that the following items from the September 15th bid opening referred to by call order be awarded. Call orders 700, 705, 710, 715, 720, 725, 730, 735, 740, 745, 750, 752, 755, 760, 765, 770, 775, 780, 785, 790, 795, 800, 810 to the second low bidder, 815, 820, 825, 830, 835, 840, 845, and 850. It is recommended that the following item from the September 15th bid opening referred to by call order be rejected, and that's call order 805. This concludes our recommendations for awards, and your approval is requested.
Any reason you're going with the second low bidder on 810?
Yes, the apparent low bidder at the time contacted my office, and basically they were low bidder on 4 projects, and they overreached.
Has to
and-
be
Yeah.
excused. All right, understand.
sir.
Thank you. All right, you've heard the presentation. Do we have a motion for approval of item 145A and B? And do I have a second? Oh, excuse me, Bob, I didn't hear you. Okay. Any discussion? All right, and Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr. Coburn,
Coburn, yes.
Mr. Grimsley,
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller,
Frymiller, yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Dyson,
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Alexander, yes.
Mr. LaForge.
LaForge, yes.
Item 145 passes 7-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Item 146 is a director's report. Secretary Gatz, you are recognized to present.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, good morning. I would, start out by expressing my appreciation to the Transportation Commission, to the district engineers, and to all of the ODOT staff that were involved in the rebalancing process. The 8-year construction work plan certainly is an important part of the Department of Transportation's operations. And one of the things that I want to really focus on for just a second is making sure we've got an understanding of where we came from. And when you look back at our bridge infrastructure, as Commissioner Grimsley pointed out, we had a significantly serious challenge back in 2003 when we did our first 8-year construction work plan, and were woefully under-resourced in order to make a difference. Over time, and certainly you gentlemen have heard me say that there's no such thing as instant gratification in managing the highway system infrastructure we have. Over time, through increasing resources, both at the state and the federal level, we've been able to make a difference. We have challenges ahead of us. One of the things that Commissioner Grimsley pointed out in particular is rural 2-lane highways. We've known that those are the highways that we have our most serious accidents on, both fatalities and severe injury. And we've known that we needed to focus on them. And what I'd tell you is over time, we have begun to put more and more focus and direct more and more resources through a managed, measured performance metric on rural 2-lane highways. It will take us time to be able to get the work done that we need to. The district engineers, I think, are doing an exceptional job of understanding and planning for the location of those improvements and directing those improvements onto facilities, number one, where we've got a recognized problem, and number two, that are carrying some of the higher volumes of traffic. I wish that we could remedy that situation in the near term, but it's going to take us some time to get our arms around it. But we've got to continue to work. Moreover, for the long term, I'm optimistic that we will continue to have growing resources to invest in trying to address some of those problems and get at those needs across the state. I will also acknowledge Commissioner Grimsley's point about how do you split the resources we have available to us. And that's something we always are willing to work on and try to make adjustments where we feel like that those adjustments will be of benefit. But it's very difficult, and there's no magic bullet solution to how you split limited resources in an environment where you're chasing a deterioration curve and you're chasing a backlog of need. So most importantly, and I think we took a huge step towards that with this 8-year construction work plan, and I'm going to talk just for a minute about some of the things that we've implemented that make our investment strategies a little bit more transparent and a little bit more understandable for not only our internal resources and not only for the commission, but for the public. And Daniel, if you wouldn't mind, if we can pull up the dashboard. And we used a little bit of a dashboard this year that was something we haven't had available to us in the past. And the dashboard that we used for rebalance has both our needs as measured against our investment strategy. And I think that was very well received by the commission. It certainly was the best opportunity that I've had to understand at a glance how we're matching up our resources with our needs. The version that is on the screen now is a public-facing version that we're about to make available to the public to look at, that is shows our projects, it shows our investment strategies, has got some ability to really look at our different performance metrics and make sure that our investment strategies are aligned with our needs. And we've increased, again, our investment in rural two-lane highways, not to the point that we're going to need to, Commissioner, and certainly acknowledge the challenge that exists there. But again, new tool available for the public. In addition to that, we've got a new project database that is public-facing also, that the public can use to drill into project status. And Daniel, if you wouldn't mind, pick one, and let's take a look at kind of where we're at with those. This particular project is I-35 at the 9 West interchange, and what this capability will allow is for anybody that accesses this website to really take a hard look at a more detailed project status of a location and how we're making progress towards delivering that project at a pretty fair amount of detail. So again, a new tool that we've got available to us in the toolbox to be more open and transparent with our investment strategies. You know, we've got a lot of different sources of information that we use to help us with our decision making, and we're masters at gathering data. This helps us turn that data into information that's understandable for the public. So again, wanted to acknowledge the efforts that have gone into putting some of these new tools together. Our GIS group has really done a great job of working closely with our project delivery folks, and again, a couple of new tools there I wanted to highlight this morning. As we work to manage the transportation system, you know, we do have an investment strategy that starts really with our boots on the ground folks that are out in the districts that are working every day to deliver routine maintenance activities, whether that's taking care of the right-of-way or addressing problems that we see develop out there that they can get their arms around. We have our asset preservation plan that is life cycle extending type projects, and that's another part of how we address issues out there. And then the 8-year construction work plan, which is truly reflective of the balance that we have to make between the resources we've got available and where the needs are across the state. And we've got needs not only with rural two-lane highways, we've still got a lot of work to do on our bridge infrastructure, or we will find ourselves back where we started. We've got to continue to invest in this work plan and the asset preservation plan. Between the two of them, have almost 800 bridges in the queue that we will touch over the course of the next 8 years. And we have problems in the urban areas. And the challenges we have in the urban areas result in congestion-related accidents because we've got big interchanges that are bottlenecks. We have a lot of different things that we're going to have to do to continue to make traffic flow as freely as we can through our urban areas. And so again, a lot of different kinds of challenges that we've got to try to address with limited resources. And we'll continue to work at that. But the best source of information that we have is right here. It's in these investment strategies. Certainly, we're going to do a better job of making sure that our strategies are aligned with our needs. So we're getting our dollars in the right places at the right times. And certainly the rural two-lane highways that Commissioner Grimsley talks about are a big part of that. So progress yet to be made, but progress is coming. And again, optimistically for our future, we'll see a continuation of rising investment levels And I think the most important thing that we can do with those resources that we've got available to us is to make sure that the public understands what we're accomplishing. And we're doing good things, both on the bridge front and the pavement surface front, and addressing those Rural 2 lanes that are some of our biggest challenges. So progress to be made, but I appreciate your consideration this morning of the 8-year plan. A couple of projects of note. The interchange out here at Interstate 40 in Douglas, I think, is a significant improvement that is a recognized need, again, with the widening of I-40 extending east to connect to the work we've done out at the Choctaw Road area, and improving the Douglas interchange to handle traffic in and out of the Tinker Air Force Base proper, and also to serve Midwest City. So again, we're pretty excited about that particular project, and looking forward to the work that will go on there. I think the public needs to know it's another construction project, and it'll be a little bit disruptive while we manage the traffic through that construction project, but we're pretty excited to get that one going. US 62 over State Highway 165 in Muskogee is a bridge deck rehabilitation project, and the guys have put together a good plan to accomplish that work while we're working on 62 over the Arkansas River. That'll make that a more seamless work zone. And again, I appreciate the work that they're doing to share those traffic control measures and the crossovers to the benefit of getting that work done in a timely manner. US 169 and Memorial Drive in Tulsa, we're building our second diverging diamond interchange at that location. Commissioner Dyson, we built the first there at Highway 6 in Elk City and I-40. Those facilities and those interchanges move traffic very effectively. That's going to be a very difficult location to do construction in because of the volumes of traffic that concentrate there at Memorial, 169, and the Creek Turnpike. So again, public needs to be mindful of that as they travel through those work zones. We'll do our best to minimize the disruption to the point that we can, but it'll be a difficult construction project. When we're done, that interchange will move traffic much more safely and much more efficiently. And then up on I-35, north of the Oklahoma County line, we're working on a wrong-way detection system that'll help with identifying some of the traffic that is potentially entering the highway system going the wrong direction at those interchange locations. You know, that is a problem that's out there that's tough to address because sometimes when we have someone enter the highway system, it defies logic to understand exactly what happened that could cause that situation. But it's something that we're mindful of, and if there are some countermeasures that we can put in place to make a difference, we're going to try to do that, and that's part of that initiative. It's a multifaceted approach on several different interstates, so that'll be an ongoing effort. We had a closure over the weekend out here on Interstate 35 that was part of a two-part closure, and I'm going to invite Trent January, District 4 engineer, to join me at the podium, and then we're going to queue up a little video and run a video of what those operations look like and what we can accomplish, because it's pretty significant and very well managed construction project. Certainly Haskell Lemon is a partner in the transportation system care and maintenance. Did a great job for us, but let's watch the video and then we'll have Trenton hit a few highlights for us.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm going to talk while the video is running. It'll kind of go on repeat. This was the second closure that we had over the weekend. This was a 2-inch mill surface project to get us to the point. But we have another project in 2029 to widen this section, but this is to improve that pavement in that section. I'm going to spit off some stats for these weekend closures. For the northbound I-35 closures, there were 7,800 tons milled. There were 779 tons of asphalt laid. There were more than 1,500 truckloads of materials. There were nearly 100 contract workers between Haskell Lemon and ODOT on site. closure for the northbound was 50 hours. The southbound I-35 closure had 7,600 tons milled, 7,550 tons of asphalt was laid, and more than 1,400 truckloads were used. And again, nearly 100 contract workers were on site between Haskell Lemon and ODOT and their subcontractors as well. That closure took 49 hours. The total stats for the both weekend closures was there were over 15,400 tons of asphalt milled, 15,340 tons of asphalt laid, nearly 3,000 truckloads in both weekend closures, and again, over 100 contract workers each weekend. And it took 100 hours for both weekends to get this work completed. You know, this was accomplished due to having a great contractor to work with, Haskell Lemon and their subcontractors that set up the traffic control. Also, the Edmond residency played in a big part because they're having to be out there constantly. And then also with our NPR group, they put out a media blitz to let everybody know that, hey, we're closing this road down to be able to get it done a lot quicker. So it was a big collaboration, a big effort working together to be able to do something like this. And a few of the things we were able to do this because we had a good detour route. 235 and I-44 and 40 was the detour route. With having that new interchange at 235 and 44, it allowed the traffic to easily, you know, they were disrupted, but they could easily use that alternate route. Some of the big things that you can take away from this closure is safety. As you can tell in these videos, the contractor's not having to worry about the traveling public driving by them while they're trying to work in close proximity with the traveling public, also for our workers as well, and for the traveling public themselves not having to be in a work zone while we have all of our equipment laying right there on the roadway. It was originally a 150-day contract, and how this was set up was there were going to be nightly lane closures, and they were going to get one lane at a time. But with this idea that was brought to us, they were able to get it done in 6 days, all the lane in 6 days. Now there was some incidental work up front, some patching, but a majority of the work happened within 6 days. And, you know, again, that goes back to the safety aspect of the contractors not having to deal with it constantly, and our workers and for the traveling public, but also a user cost for the traveling public as well. We know it was a pain and it was an inconvenience to the traveling public, but being able to get it done in a couple weekends versus 150 days with nightly lane closures made a big impact and made it a very successful job. Again, I want to thank Haskell Lemon and their group and all their subcontractors that were out there working. Again, the Edmond residency oversaw the job. They did a great job. NPR getting the word out. So it was just a really good job, and it turned out really well. There are still going to be, I'd be remiss if I don't mention, there will be still some nightly lane closures to finish up a few southbound ramps. But other than that, most of the work is completed. Thank you.
Congratulations to the team. Again, kind of the stars aligned here because we had a good detour opportunity that wasn't terrible for the traveling public. We have lots of good ideas and innovation brought forward by the contractors team, and the ODOT team was willing to give this a try. I would tell you it worked out really well, really exceptionally, as evidenced by what you saw there. And getting that 4 or 5 months worth of work done in a couple of weekends is major. And I want to really put an emphasis point on something that Trenton said, and it's really about safety. Because every time you have an active work zone with the traveling public traveling through it, it can be super dangerous. And the more that we can minimize that disruption, the better we are. And certainly this is a good example of a success story. So congratulations to the team. Coming up, we've got a pretty significant travel day for I-35 South. That's the Red River Rivalry. We've got several construction zones between Oklahoma City and the Red River, and we will make sure that we are minimizing the disruption to the traveling public in those work zones, working to make sure we've got 2 lanes open in each direction, and that effort will continue, but I've been assured that that'll be the case. So we'll make travel as good as we can make it between here and there over the coming weekend. And one of the things I want to touch on is we have had our National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Plan, NEVI plan, you'll hear that commonly referred to, approved this past month. And what that does effectively is gives us access to about $9.8 million of the $66 million total that we'll have available over the life of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act to get started on building quick chargers and quick charging infrastructure in accordance with the requirements of the NEVI plan. That's a success story in itself. I feel like our plan is very, very well thought out and put together. Jared Swinison and his team have done a good job engaging the private sector, and that being both retailers and electric cooperatives and electric companies, because it's going to take that kind of an effort and an initiative to make sure that these chargers get put at the right place and that they're supported for the long term. So again, congratulations to the team and on getting the plan approved. First quarter of 2023, we will be putting out an inquiry and RFP for partners to come start to help us build that infrastructure out. So more to come there. And I'd close with a little bit of a safety message and safety campaign. You know, always we want to remind the traveling public to be careful in work zones, put away those distractions, and make sure they're paying attention. While we'll have lanes open on 35 South, it'll still be construction work zones, and it'll still be something everybody needs to pay attention to. But not just on 35 South. In all of our construction work zones that you're going to find across the state, we want you to pay attention and, for first and foremost, put away those distractions. Most importantly, do that activity that can help keep you safe more than anything else, especially on rural highways. Because all too often, when we have an accident that's a severe injury or a fatality, and it's on one of those rural 2 lanes that doesn't have shoulders, one of the things that is circumstantial is that the occupants of the vehicle sometimes aren't buckled. We need to include seatbelt usage in all of our safety messaging. That's the most important thing that you can do. Because again, assuming that you have an accident, it is the first line of defense to prevent you from a severe injury or worse, a fatality. And therein comes our safety campaign, which safety, you know, and buckling up, it's not just about you. You know, it has a potential to have an effect on your family. Just as Commissioner Grimsley points out, too often we have that knock at the door. And one of the things that we can do, each and every one of us, is to buckle that seatbelt. And Oklahoma's utilization rate is way lower than it should be, at about 85%. We need to get those numbers up. That in itself is one of the most important things that we can do, and it'll have the most dramatic influence on fatalities, because far too many fatalities occur and severe injury accidents because we're not wearing our seatbelts. So help us with that, Oklahoma. And one last thing. We are in a severe drought condition right now, and that severe drought condition is going to result in additional wildfires. We've got several going right now. We're going to have more. And I'd remind the traveling public, if you see smoke ahead, try to take corrective action, pull to the shoulder before you get in it, into those conditions. Get off that highway if you have the ability. Make sure you understand what's ahead of you, and don't drive into smoke if you can avoid it. We had a severe accident up on Interstate 35 recently that was in conjunction with a wildfire that was burning, And we want to be extremely careful of those conditions. And again, just want to remind everybody to be on the lookout for those types of occurrences and pay really close attention. Take care of yourself. Mr. Chairman, with that, I would stand for any questions that the commissioners might have or
Questions? You know, you talked about earlier in your remarks about making progress, and I think you undersold how much you've accomplished. And I don't speak for the rest of the commissioners, but I clearly see it, and I know how hard your people work, and we're seeing the results of our scoring in the division bridges and all of those things. So I think you've got much to be proud of and great accomplishments in the part of ODOT. So, good work, great work.
Look, I mean, I would agree, I concur. I think the district engineers, from my experience, are wizards. I too have an engineering background, which is not a very good engineer, but some of the innovation that I see that they do is remarkable. And that is something I think we need to take on as a commission. You know, I love the idea of permissionless innovation. We have some very bright people in ODOT. I think they need to have the latitude and flexibility to think outside of the box and come up with new solutions, just like this one. You know, we're going to have a little short-term problem, shut down the road on the weekend, but there's a huge gain because of that. So I think we need to encourage that, support it, and give a little grace to let that happen. And it's difficult in a government environment. We have a lot of regulations, a lot of things that we must adhere to, but I think we need to continue to find ways to make their job easier if we can. So I do want to bring up one more thing. That's it's the elephant in the room in my district and my counterparts of the West, and that's the North Texas growth. I drive 69 into Dallas frequently, just, you know, part of my day work and stuff. And we've heard about I-35 bringing multiple lanes north. 69 is happening with Texas. Texas is, we're watching 6 lanes come up, and we're just now on our side finishing up 4 lanes. And so we're going to have just an incredible demand placed upon the southern districts of Oklahoma. Arkansas, to my knowledge, is not bringing multiple lanes. Kansas is not, but Texas is. And I will never turn down an opportunity to say something negative about Texas. They're horrible at managing traffic during construction, and it's night and day when you come across Oklahoma. So we do a much better job at that. But they are approaching us with significant investment, significant activity, and it's just undeniable. It's happening today. So.
Commissioner, that's very, very well taken. To your point, we see traffic growth at 69, at 75, at I-35, the major locations on our southern border, but even the minor locations.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing higher volumes come across the highway system and those bridge locations across the red, across our entire southern border. At the same time, you know, when you look at what is happening in our neighboring states, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Highway 412 and the interstate designation that is pending for it, and the relationship that we have with Arkansas, because they're at the West Siloam Springs area. Certainly both Arkansas on their side and tying that facility into I-49 at some point in the future, and the challenges we have on our side of the line with 412 looms large for the future, and again, is going to require continued investment. And I think I would echo Commissioner Grimsley's point about our district engineers. I think those guys do an incredible job of managing the resources that they've got available, trying to get their arms around all of the different aspects that they have to. And the thing that I think they recognize, and I know each and every one of them agonize over, just like we do, and just like you do as commissioners, is that we just don't have enough to get there fast enough. And we've got to continue to work on that. And I very much appreciate the confidence that the commission shows in all of us and your support as we continue to make progress.
Mr. Secretary, I'd like to do a special shout out to Trenton January for this exceptional job he did over this weekend from the people of District 4.
Thank you, Commissioner, and
Well done.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
Well done. Thank you, Don. Yeah, yeah. If commissioners have no other comments, then I'd hear a motion for item 147, which is adjournment.
Motion, Dyson.
And do I have a second? Secretary will please call the roll.
Mr. Coburn. Mr. Grimsley.
Grimsley, yes.
Mr. Frymiller.
Frymiller, yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Dyson.
Dyson, yes.
Mr. Alexander. Mr. LaForge.
Item 147 passes 7-0. We are adjourned.
Mr. Chairman, no business to be conducted, but I do want to recognize Jay Lemon. He's in the room with us with Haskell Lemon.
Ah. All right. Thank you. We are adjourned.